Good evening to everyone who is here with us today. On behalf of the organizing committee, I would like to warmly welcome all of you to the research presentations of Stat Day 2021. This is the final event of a series of events we organized in connection with Stat Day 2021. One graduate each from statistics, statistics with computer science, and industrial statistics will present their findings from their undergraduate research at this event. But before we move on to our presentations, we have a small video package from our platinum sponsor, 𝗟SEG Technology. Please enjoy.
𝗟SEG Technology is a solution provider to financial market institutions around the globe who provide trading, surveillance, clearing, depository solutions to over 25 institutions spread out over 5 continents.
Innovation is the legacy and the foundation of our success and will continue to be a key success factor in our future as well. We are a niche, high-performing organization with world-class talent. We attract the cream of the system in the country. Here at 𝗟SEG Technology, you will have the opportunity of working with a global team of colleagues who are industry experts. You will also have the opportunity of working with a diverse client base.
𝗟SEG Technology products win in the market due to its technical competitiveness. That is, we are a few years ahead of the competition in terms of technology. To preserve our competitive advantage, we do invest in keeping our developers abreast and up to date of all the current technologies so that in turn our products are extremely competitive in the marketplace. We are a product company in that sense. We design and develop and maintain and commission and support all our product lines. So you have an end-to-end exposure from concept development to detailed design to build out to test to commissioning. So that's a full cycle exposure of really critical infrastructure software.
We are a high-performing organization and a culture which celebrates you for who you are. We are from different ethnic backgrounds. We have a massive inclusivity culture. Your personal preferences can be you. So the culture is, it allows your individuality to be a part of the organization, but where we also come together as a culture is when we drive high performance.
What we're looking for is really talent that has an aptitude for engineering. A pure play is that when you join us, we don't really expect you to know the ins and outs of finances, programming large systems. Those skills we will impart on you. But you should have the aptitude to take that on board and grow your technical skills and your ability to manage teams and take on more and more responsibility as your career progresses.
We belong to a fabulous legacy which has changed year on year to be completely new, current and different. So all of us who is in this organization now and somebody who is a potential family member has an opportunity to shape, navigate, envision what it ought to be for the next centuries to come.
I hope you all enjoyed that video, and thank you 𝗟SEG Technology for sponsoring StatDay 2021. Now to start our presentations, I would like to invite 𝗦𝗲𝗸𝗵 to present her research findings on functional data analysis of circadian rhythms in core body temperature. This is the selected presentation from Statistics Honors Degree. 𝗦𝗲, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Navindu. Hope that you all can see my slides. Can you see my slides? All right. Have you ever wondered why you feel very alert in the morning and very energetic in the morning, or why you feel very sleepy in the afternoon and go back to sleep at night and repeat the same cycle over and over again? The answer to this is our own biological clocks, or what we call as circadian rhythms. Every cell, every plant, every animal, and us humans all have these biological clocks inside ourselves. These are approximately 24-hour cycles that play fundamental roles in various functions in our bodies. That is why we use the Latin word circadian, which means about a day rhythms. Mice and nocturnal animals such as owls look for food at night because their senses are heightened during that time. Some birds, such as songbirds, are highly active in the morning. It's not just the animals. Us humans all have behaviors that are accustomed to a particular time of the day. So when we open our eyes and start our day, a blue light sensor in our eyes called melanopsin senses light and sends that signal to the master clock in our brain. Then that will tune our bodies to the local time of the day. That is why our biological clock is synchronized to the daily cycle of the sun. When you travel overseas, we lose this synchronization and end up being jet-lagged. So after the brain receives these signals from light, it will send these signals to all the other internal clocks that can be found in genes in our various organs, such as heart, liver, thymus, etc. In this way, our bodies will tune themselves to the cycle of the sun. These circadian patterns can be functions, behavioral and physiological functions in humans, such as temperature, hormone secretion, sleep-wake cycles, and even activity levels. In our research, we analyze circadian rhythms in core body temperature to understand this complex phenomenon of biological clocks. The reason for this is because core body temperature is the easiest to measure with high frequency, and it has minimum effects from the outside world. Circadian rhythm can be disrupted due to many external and internal factors. Scientists have found that circadian rhythm disruptions can be linked to many health issues. Some of them are jet lag, cancer, cardiovascular diseases, sleep disorder, mood disorders, diabetes, and obesity. Therefore, understanding and being aware of your circadian rhythms is very important to our health. In this research, we used functional data analysis methods to analyze circadian rhythms. Why is that beneficial? For example, suppose that these are core body temperature measurements. Clearly, due to convenience and feasibility, we can only measure temperature at a finite grid of points, but temperature does exist at all times. Therefore, it is natural to view core body temperature as a continuous function over time, instead of a vector of measurements. When we consider temperature's natural form, our methods move from traditional multivariate techniques to functional data analysis techniques. In functional data analysis methods, our objects are functions in infinite dimension space. When we analyze objects in their natural form, we can extract more information from its high dimensions. We obtain the data set from a publicly available data source. In our data set, we have 71 male mice and we have 8 variables. Out of the 8 variables, 5 are categorical variables that describe a particular characteristic of a particular mouse. We have age, diet, light cycle, genotype, and health. Then we have 3 time series variables: core body temperature, motion level, and light. We consider these time series variables as functional variables in our research. We wanted to find answers to 4 research questions. First, we wanted to find out if there's an effect from the 5 categorical variables on our core body temperature curves. Then we wanted to classify our core body temperature curves into the correct class of age, diet, or light cycle. Then we wanted to be able to predict unknown core body temperature curves of mice. Finally, we wanted to be able to forecast the next day's core body temperature curve of mice. For the functional ANOVA objective, we mainly used the L2 norm-based test and some of its extensions. Then for the classification objective, we used a non-parametric kernel-based estimator for posterior probabilities to classify curves into the correct class. For both the time series and regression objectives, we used a functional reproducing kernel Hilbert space regression approach. The speciality of this model is that it can transform our unsolvable problem in infinite dimension space to a reproducible kernel Hilbert space. And due to some of the properties of this space, our problem becomes solvable. So from the functional ANOVA methods, we found that the 2 mean curves of mice, of young mice and old mice are significantly different to each other. Visually, the difference can be seen from the 2 mean curves as well. Effects of age on circadian rhythm can be a direct result from the phenomenon referred to as the aging clock. Biologists have found that these changes brought forth by age affect internal clocks in other organs too. These changes due to the biological clock can eventually lead to several diseases in older mice. Hence the reason why older subjects are more prone to diseases. We also found that the 2 mean curves of mice given a standard diet and a high-fat diet are significantly different to each other as well. Some past literature mentioned that a high-fat diet can disrupt circadian rhythms and eventually cause many troublesome metabolic diseases. We also found that the light cycle variable brings on significant effects on circadian rhythms in core body temperature. Many literature in chronobiology state light as the main environmental cue that regulates circadian rhythm. You can also clearly see the effects by comparing the 2 mean curves here. We also see significant effects from the genotype variable. At organism level, SCN in our brain regulates circadian rhythms. However, when considering from a molecular viewpoint, it is actually regulated by 3 clock genes, and one of them is this PER2 or the period gene. Here's the reason for observing significant effects from the genotype variable as well. Finally, from the functional ANOVA methods, we observed that the 2 mean curves of healthy mice and mice with diseases were also significantly different to each other. We can see it visually too. The mice with diseases group seem to have less rhythmicity. It seems like the circadian pattern is almost diminishing with time in disease group. There are many research in past literature that mention that various diseases can disrupt circadian rhythms. through our research, we were able to verify all of these effects from all the 5 categorical variables by considering the full curve without losing valuable information. This was one of our major findings. The second objective was classification. Given any core body temperature curve, we were able to classify these curves into the correct group of age with 86% accuracy, to the correct group of diet with an 86% accuracy, and to the correct light cycle group with 98% accuracy. It is worthwhile to note that the model that classifies age groups might be actually revealing the biological age group of mice instead of their chronological age. Chronological age refers to the number of years a person has lived, and the biological age refers to how old that person actually is internally and biologically. With further inspection, we can use this model to identify an individual's biological age. And at present, scientists identify this biological age using a technique called DNA methylation. This was another interesting finding from our research. Then we gave a shot at predicting core body temperature curves with the rest of the variables as predictors. Through functional reproducible kernel-Hilbert space regression models with only the categorical variables, that model gave the lowest error when predicting. That means just by having an idea about these 5 categorical variables, we can predict circadian rhythms in core body temperature of any mouse. Who would have thought that diet, age, and even light would be this important to our core body temperature? This was another amazing finding. Then we extended these models to be able to forecast next day's core body temperature curves. These functional time series models performed extremely well by capturing the patterns and variations. Through functional 𝗟𝗪𝗄𝘁 time series models, it was found that the best forecast can be given by the model that uses previous day's core body temperature curves and the categorical variables as predictors. The speciality of the 𝗟𝗪𝗄𝘁 time series model is that it can consider many observations and give forecasts, unlike our traditional multivariate time series models or even traditional functional time series models that can only model a single observation. These regression and time series models can be used to keep track of a person's circadian rhythm. There are many biomedical research that focus on how to reset a person's circadian rhythm or a person's disrupted circadian rhythm. And we can also use these types of models to learn how to optimize treatment times for various diseases like cancer. For all of these types of research happening in biomedical research, they can use the models that we have used here. So that is the end of my presentation. Hope you all got a good idea about circadian rhythms and its importance. So listen to your clock as it is vital for our health. Thank you.
Thank you, Sekha, for that very informative presentation. Our next presenter is Sandhamini Senaratne, and she is going to present her findings on improving bank customer efficiency through automatic speech recognition. This is the selected presentation for statistics with computer science honors degree. Sandhamini, the floor is yours.
Thank you, 𝗏𝗏. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandhamini Senaratne. So my research topic is improving bank customer efficiency through automatic speech recognition. My supervisors were Dr. Tilly from the UCSD and Dr. Magala from the Department of Statistics. So this is the outline of my presentation. I will be taking you through all these points during the presentation. So now first have a look at the introduction. So as soon as you hear the words automatic speech recognition, I'm sure that you've kind of figured out that it's related to speech. So Automatic speech recognition simply means I'm sorry. Now first let's have a look at the introduction part. As soon as you hear the automatic speech recognition, I'm sure that you kind of get an idea that this is related to speech. So automatic speech recognition simply means that the translation of audio or speech into text format. Some of the common applications of automatic speech recognition that we see in day-to-day world are Apple's Siri, Amazon Alexa, the subtitles that appear below the YouTube videos, and also in-car systems. So apart from these common applications, some of the industries also get the help of automatic speech recognition in their day-to-day applications. So one such industry is the banking industry. Some of the foreign banks get the help of Apple Siri and Amazon Alexa for their customers to pay the payments online. Now, next, let's have a look at the banking industry. The banking industry handles thousands of number entries per day. Money deposits, cash withdrawals, and money transfers happens inside a bank on a day-to-day basis. So one of the most important components that is needed for all these transactions is the bank slip. However, there are some problems that we encounter when dealing with bank slips. Those are, some people struggle in filling the bank slips. Also, people have to stay in queues for long hours. Moreover, the bank slips may not be available in the counters at all times. So, keeping these problems in mind, let's move on to the motivation slide. The filling of bank slips is done by entering the name, account number, and amount manually. But this kind of takes some amount of time, and also the person filling the bank slip needs to have a certain amount of literacy in order to fill the bank slip. Hence, in order to avoid these repercussions, we thought, why don't we try and automate the filling of bank slips? This leads to my research problem. How could we improve the bank customer efficiency through automatic speech recognition and deep neural networks? So my research study is based on the objectives of implementing a traditional baseline model, implementing a deep neural network model, evaluating the performances of the two models, and identifying the synchronous spoken numbers accurately. Moving on, let's have a look at the significance of the study. The successful implementation of this study not only increases the efficiency of the bank, but also of its customers. Moreover, this would be a better way for illiterate customers and senior citizens. I'm sure that all of you must have seen people asking help in filling bank slips. So this would actually take all their worries away. Moreover, as far as my knowledge goes, no bank in Sri Lanka has introduced this method. Finally, this signifies the use of speech recognition on recognizing synchronous numbers using deep neural networks. To add another point, I think in times like this pandemic COVID-19 situations, I think the successful implementation would be a better option because this would avoid touching things. Moving on, this is the architecture of the research design. So the audio signals would be collected from individuals, and those audio data we'll be extracting features. And then from those feature extractions, we'll be implementing the acoustic model and the language model. And then it would be put onto a speech recorder along with the lexicon in order for us to get a recognition result as text. We'll be mainly focusing on the acoustic model, where we'll be training the HMM-GMM model and also the DNN-HMM model. So the implementation of the research study was done mainly in three parts: the data collection and preparation, implementation of the GMM-HMM model, the implementation of the DNN model. First, let's have a look at the data collection part. 3,500 audio files were collected from 100 individuals. Each individual were given 35 numbers. So the 35 numbers consisted of account numbers, credit card numbers, telephone numbers, amounts in rupees, national identity card numbers, and also a mixture of the above 5 numbers and some of the numbers that were given to another speaker. I should mention that all these individuals were given individual sheets comprising of different 35 numbers. Also, on that sheet, it was mentioned as to how the speaker should speak out loud the number. So this is an example of a number sheet that was given to a speaker. This is called as a caller sheet. So the collected 3,500 audio files were divided into the training set and testing set into 80% 20% ratio, so that there were 2,800 audio files in the training set and 700 audio files in the testing set. For the speech recognition system implementation, we've used the 𝗟𝗠𝗎 speech recognition toolkit. The 𝗟𝗠𝗎 speech recognition toolkit requires us to have prepared some files for the acoustic data and also the language data. So according to the acoustic data preparations, there were 5 files that we needed to prepare. So those 5 files are SPK to gender file, which informed about the speaker's gender, WAP.scp file, which specified where the audio files are stored, text file, which matched the utterances to its text transcription, utterance to speaker file, which specified which utterance belongs to which speaker, and also the corpus file, which consisted of all the text transcriptions. So with respect to the language data, the lexicon.txt file and the non-silent phones.txt file played an important role. So all these files were also generated according to the 𝗟𝗠𝗎 format, and the lexicon.txt file consisted every word from the dictionary from its own transcriptions. So some of the examples are given in this slide. So there were actually more than 600 unique words in the lexicon.txt file. Non-silent phones.txt contains the phones list in Sinhala language, and there were more than or equal to 43 non-silent phones in Sinhala language. So the accuracy measurement that we've used in the research study is the word error rate. That is the standard measurement to assess the performance of an automatic speech recognition system. So this is calculated by dividing the summation of the substitutions, insertions, and the deletions by the number of words in a specific given sentence. Now let's have a look at the results. So I've implemented a baseline model and also a 2D deep neural network models. According to the 𝗟𝗠𝗎 format, having implemented a baseline model was important because the alignments of the baseline model would be needed in the successful implementation of the DNN model. And the DNN model was implemented with respect to 2 nonlinearity types, the TANH and the p-norm. So according to the results, we could see that the lowest word error rate was given by the deep neural network model with the TANH nonlinearity. So now let's have a look at some of the examples of the decoded results. So basically what the speech recognition system does is that when you give them a speech data or an audio file, they translate that audio file into text. So the test sentence that was given as in audio format was 𝗟𝗑𝗫𝗓𝗓𝗂𝗓𝗔. So this sentence was translated into text by all these models. You can see that the baseline model and the DNN model with the p-norm nonlinearity has not been able to identify accurately the last word of the given sentence. However, the deep neural network model with the tan-edge nonlinearity type has been able to accurately identify the given test sentence. Therefore, we could see that the deep neural network model with the tan-edge nonlinearity is the best one. So now let's have a look at the conclusion. So according to the results, we could see that the deep neural network HMM model is better than the GMM HMM model. Also, that the tan-edge nonlinearity shows a better performance than the p-norm nonlinearity. Moreover, this says us that this contributes to the spoken number recognition in Sinhala language. Moreover, this concludes that this leads to improving the efficiency not only of the bank, but also of its customers. So now let's have a look at the future work that could be done using this research study. We could develop a more extensive corpus. Also, we could use different types of deep neural network structures such as LSTM. And also we could change the parameters. Due to computer capacities, I couldn't actually change the parameters much. And so therefore we could actually try that aspect as well. Moreover, we could develop a user-friendly interface in a real-world scenario in a banking industry. Finally, I think that if it would be wise if we could come up with a procedure where we could check whether the translated numbers match with the individual's account number, NIC number, etc. So this brings to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. I also take this opportunity to thank my parents, who's been a great strength of pillar for me, and also especially my two research supervisors, Tirini Madam and also Champa Madam, who've been constantly advising me and guiding me to finish this research study successfully. Last but not least, I would like to thank you, my friends, who supported me by giving their data and also helping me in any ways they could. So thank you very much, all of you. Stay safe.
Thank you, Sandhamini. Thank you, Sandhamini, for sharing your valuable insights with us. Before we move on to our final presentation, we have a small speech brought to you by our sponsors, LSEG Technologies. I would like to invite Mr. 𝗦𝗲𝗵 from LSEG Technologies to address the audience. But before that, let me take a moment to introduce our speaker. Mr. 𝗦𝗲𝗵 graduated from the University of Moratuwa in 2006. He joined Millennium IT, where he worked for 8 years and thereafter moved to Zenith Business Solutions as their COO. He later rejoined LSEG Technologies to lead the London Clearinghouse implementation of clearing products as a Chief Product Owner / Lead BA. He is currently working as the Product Manager of the same product. During his 15 years of experience, he has worked with many FMI clients such as LSE, ICAP, and LCH. Mr. 𝗦𝗲𝗵, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for that introduction. And I just wanted to say that, I was listening through the first two presentations, and your projects are superb. I would definitely hang around for the next, the final presentation as well to, figure out exactly what you guys have been up to. So I'm trying to present my slide set. I'm not sure whether you guys can see it or not. I guess not. Okay. Hope you can see it now. Maybe Navidu can help me out.
Yes, we can see the slides.
Okay, right. Excellent. Cool. So, okay, I'll give a quick overview of what LSE is and what we've been up to. And specifically in the times of the pandemic, what we have been doing. So I'm not going to talk about working from home and things like that, but specifically the kind of services that we've been providing to the financial market infrastructure world of the world on keeping their systems running during this time of pandemic and why that is important, right? Like, so let's see whether I can stick to my time. So I'll start off with like who we are. So we are essentially London Stock Exchange Group. So the London Stock, the LSEG technology company actually was Millennium IT. So you may, maybe you know some of your elder brothers or sisters or their friends who worked there. So we were acquired by LSE back in 2010. And after a long time, we decided, okay, we will change our name to LSEG Technology to align with the global branding. So we are now part of like the 25,000 strong LSEG, the entire group. So you heard this term like financial market infrastructure or FMI. So what does that mean? It's a very simple thing. Essentially, those are the backbones of the financial markets in the world, right? So what we do is we provide software systems for brokers, for exchanges, for regulators, for clearing houses, for risk managers, and settlement and depository systems. So that's essentially what we do day in, day out. And we do this through like 8 of our products. So we are a product company as opposed to a solutions company. So we have Millennium Exchange, which is run at London Stock Exchange. We have Millennium Market Data. We have Millennium Surveillance. So Millennium Surveillance helps the regulators on figuring out, like, you know, whether there are weird patterns or anti-patterns happening in the market, which means that there may be some manipulations happening in the market, etc. We have Millennium Analytics, which is like a spin-off product that came out from that. We have Millennium SOR, Smart Order Routers, a risk management system, clearing and depository system, right? So I'll jump over to our footprint. So this is essentially like what we have managed to do so far in our journey of 20+ years. So we are present at London Stock Exchange. We are present at Borsa Italiana. We are present in South America, in Argentina and in Peru. We are present in Africa, and actually Africa happens to be one of our oldest markets. We essentially started and grew there. We are also present in Asia and the East Asia, right? Like, so Hong Kong, Philippines, Singapore, all run our systems. So what you can see to the left of this is essentially the types of instruments that we and solutions that we provide. I'm not going to bore you with that because they may be a bit too alien for you when you start looking at these names. So I'll jump straight to the topic, right? Right. So the impact of COVID-19 on financial markets. So, I mean, I think like you guys have been having these sessions for like the past week, and I was listening to Dr. 𝗟𝗏𝗵𝗂𝗵𝗂𝗵𝗂 like the keynote speech, and he covered a massive part about like how the data sciences came into help during the pandemic, etc. So I thought, like, I'll continue with that slightly related topic on like how the pandemic affected the financial markets, which is what we do, right? So the pandemic essentially caused the fastest decline in the bear market in the recorded history. So what's a bear market? Essentially, if your market is crashing down, we call it a bear market. If it's going up, we call it a bull market, right? So this, to give you guys a bit of a view, this is what the market, one of the market indices looked like during the initial stages of pandemic in US, right? So in somewhere around mid-February, this index was at 29,500, and it declined all the way down to like some 30% plus to below 19,000 during late March. So on 12th February, so that is at this point, right? It was at its highest point, 29,550. So entire world was actually, so like the US economy and the markets kind of drive the world markets, right? It's US markets are the biggest markets in the world. So everyone was like looking at a pretty rosy picture, but even at this time, the pandemic in China has already started, right? Like we started hearing about it somewhere here. But like, you know, the other side of the world didn't really care about that. Then 24th to 28th February, you know, this is where the problem started coming in, right? So we had the largest 1 week decline, 12% decline. And this happened when the deaths, the number of deaths in Italy started coming out. And that's when Europe and rest of the world realized, well, this is not just a passing flu kind of a thing. It's already out of hand. And this is something that we need to take control. And this was the largest decline from, since 2008 financial crisis, which was like 13 years ago. So I guess, like, you know, most of you guys are like, should have been like about 10 years old or something like that back in the day. But it was one of the biggest hit financial crisis in the, like, you know, past 50-year history. But this thing essentially gave some preview to that, that it was the largest 1 week decline since then. And 9th March, we had a 20% drop since this, the February peak, right? Somewhere around here. So that's when, that's also when the oil prices started going up and down, and then US was threatening to push the oil price down, and so many related things. But yeah, it still crashed. 16th March, roughly 1 month from this all-time high, the markets had the highest fall in a single day, a 13% fall. So that was preceded only back in 1987, and even I was only 5 years back then, and I had no idea about it up until much later. But that was called the 1987 Black Monday. So this was the biggest crash ever that happened since then. By 23rd March, it looks like at 37% drop from the highs, everything was now finally crashed and maybe, like, you know, hit the rock bottom, and it was trying to get up. So that's when, like, you know, nearly 1.5 months from this massive high in the unprecedented high in the US stock markets, the US government had to decide that they had to give out a $2.2 trillion fiscal stimulus to make sure that the economy kept running, right? So, okay, right, cool. All good numbers, very bleak stories. So what does this really mean? Like, I mean, okay, fine. Like, so the market is crashing. Then, like, you know, what did 𝗟 technology do about it? Like, what does it really mean to the exchanges anyway, right? Just because the market is crashing, like, what happens? Right. So one of the main topics that comes into play with this is the investor protection, right? So the highly volatile markets could mean, like, you know, the people who are not ready to be in the market, like that, because no one is in the market for 24/7, right? Like real time, no one is there. People can get complete caught off guard, and it could just fuel a panic selling or a panic buying, shoot through. Either way, that could happen, right? So if the market prices change within like a very small amount of time, generally exchanges have put on some cool-off periods, right? So this is one way that they protect the investor. So during this crash time, Colombo Stock Exchange, for example, hit their circuit breaker cool-off multiple times. Singapore Stock Exchange hit it multiple times within a day. US hit it several times. Quite a few exchanges in EU hit it several times. Then the next most important part is that, okay, so now the investors have figured out, okay, this is a real fall. We should not be impeding this fall. Like, you know, it is real. It's not a panic sell. I mean, it's not a impulsive sell. It's actually for reasons. So the next important part is risk management, right? So financial markets in the world are not pre-funded. What does that mean? That means like you don't give the money upfront to the exchanges. You do the trade and then you give the money. So what if like these things move so much that you don't have money to give at the end of the day? So exchanges and clearing houses use these like complex risk models to evaluate the probabilities of market movement and your defaults, right? Both. So that's one important thing these financial market infrastructures do. And the third thing is that unimpeded access, right? So no one wants to be in a position where you are trying. So, I mean, you guys know, like if you are, for example, there's like a sweepstakes or like there's a sign up event or something like that. And there's a giveaway or something like that, and you're trying to access the website and you can't access it, how frustrating that is, right? So imagine having like $1 million worth of money out there in the market and you can't access the system. So no one wants to be locked out of a system when these kind of volatilities happen. And that becomes the third most important point for these FMIs to consider during a volatile period like this. So what was our experience during this? So funnily enough, the London Clearinghouse project, like the project that I was leading from the BS side, we went live on 9th March, like the day all indices went crashing, right? We called it the Black Monday in the previous session. So we were really worried because like so we are present in Singapore, we are present in Colombo, we are present in India, we are present in other places like Italy. So we know like how this, like, as the sun moves, we know how the markets were reacting, right? Like, so we saw that it was crashing in Singapore, we saw that it was crashing in Sri Lanka, same in India, same in Italy. So we were waiting to see like what will happen in London. So the first week of operation, we actually saw 2.5 times the daily average volume being traded, right? Like cleared through this system. So like I told you guys earlier on, the risk evaluation becomes a major thing, right? Like, so when these markets are so volatile, so we have to do that complex full portfolio evaluation, and we actually manage to do it every 10 minutes. The reason is like we run, unlike some other software, we run our system on a GPU as well. So the GPUs provide like a fast calculation of parallel data processing. I'm sure you guys know about that a lot. So you can do a lot of simulated position update calculations, although they are complex. You can do them in parallel and then merge them together. SGX, our other client, they recorded more than twice the daily volumes. CSZ, like I told you, like it had many circuit breaker triggers that came in during the day, and I think after a few days, I think we decided to just close the exchange down because, like, the market volatility was too high. We were worried about, like, the exchange was worried about investors getting hurt. So this is the most important part. So our systems, we never had an outage during this extremely volatile period, and that's something that we are very proud about, right? So my ex-boss used to say that, KJ, like the most important thing for me is to stay out of the news. What he means is, like, you don't end up in a situation where you have egg on your face, right? Like where you have a crash and then all the newspapers in the world are talking about how this system did not perform properly during the time of the need. So this is what we are very proud of, and this is what we do as a technology. We build systems that are reliable, scalable, and highly complex. So I'll do a quick run through of, like, who we are. I mean, like our 𝗦𝗶𝗶 𝗵𝗂𝗶 campus. So we have about 500 people working here, about 220 plus engineers, 100 quality assurance engineers. I have about 60 people who are working on domain experts, who are essentially BAs and product managers like me. So I'll quickly jump over the last slide because I'm taking up your time as well. So we have like several opportunities available with us. So one is the internship opportunity. It's a 6-month program tailored for the undergraduates. So we do a lot of deep technology experimentation plus client-facing projects, right? So you guys will be able to get involved in some of the data science projects that we are doing. I think you may remember, like we spoke about surveillance and risk, where we use very complex data models to do some computations, calculations, and predictions. So that is something that you guys might be able to get involved in if you're interested. Then we have like the roles in Sri Lanka, which is like the business analysts, product managers, software architects, data engineers, data scientists, and data architects. So this entire part in the middle goes well in with the Millennium Analytics platform and the Millennium Surveillance platform, where we are looking at predictive data to figure out whether certain patterns are, whether they are patterns or anti-patterns, or whether they are, some kind of malicious market movements, etc. And of course, since we are a global company, you also have the opportunity to sometimes move to London or New York. And like, now that given we are a much bigger, truly global company spanning from across Japan all the way back to US, you will have many opportunities working in other places as well. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much my boring presentation. I'll hand it over to you, 𝗏𝗵𝗂, again. And if you guys are interested in working with us, just drop a message through 𝗏𝗵𝗂. 𝗏𝗵𝗂, over to you.
Thank you, sir. We would like to thank Mr. 𝗏𝗵𝗂 for that very informative presentation on the impact of COVID-19 on stock markets. And also you would like to thank LSEG Technology for being our platinum partner for StatDay 2021. Now on to our final presentation. I would like to invite Lankadini Rathuwadu to present her research findings on the impact of sampling design and sampling rates on survey data analysis. With selected research presentation to Industrial Statistics Honors Degree. Lankadini, over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lankadini Rathuwadu, and my research topic is impact of sampling design and sampling based on survey data analysis. And my supervisors were Dr. 𝗏𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗏𝗏 and Dr. 𝗦𝗲𝗓𝗏𝗏. This is the outline of today's presentation. First, we'll move on to the background of the study, which will give you a basic idea about the two most important aspects considered in this research: sampling design and the sampling base. Moving on to the sampling design, a sampling design is the framework that serves as the basis for the selection of a survey sample. For this research, our consideration of survey data focused only on the probability sampling designs, in which each element of a population has a known probability of being included in the sample. The simplest probability sampling design is the simple random sampling, and it has simple random sampling has an equal probability of selection for each unit. And common practical designs are used by the large surveys, and they are complex than simple random sample, mainly due to cost cutting, and include stratified random sampling, multi-stage cluster sampling, and other controlled selection procedures. These practical designs deviate from SRS due to unequal inclusion probability of elements and the correlation among the data. Coming to the sampling weights, a sampling weight is a value assigned to each sampling unit in the data set. The weight of a given unit may be interested as the number of units from the population that are represented by the given sampling unit. For example, if a sample of 25 individuals is taken from a population with 100 individuals, then each sampled person's data may be considered to represent 4 people in the population and would have a sampling weight of 4. The weighting process generally involves 3 steps: obtaining design weights or base weights, then adjustments for non-response, and finally adjustments for coverage errors. The first step of the weighting process is to obtain design weights or base weights, also known as base weights, which accounts for differential probabilities of selection for different sampling units. It is defined as the probability of inverse of the probability of selecting an individual in the sample. In an SRS, every unit has the same sampling weight. However, in complex sample designs, weights differ from one unit to the other. As non-response is common in surveys, the second step involves adjusting the base weight base weights to compensate for the data loss due to non-response. Final step of the weighting process is to adjust the weights to correct for any discrepancies between sample and known population figures for some subgroups. This process is also known as calibration. For example, the selected sample may end up with 60% males and 40% females, even with the use of base weights, but the true population percentages of males and females may be 50%. In that case, base weights are calibrated to obtain correct population proportions of males and females using external population benchmark figures. So the final weight is obtained by multiplying the base weight by the non-response adjustment factor, then by the post-stratification adjustment factor. Two types of sampling weights are commonly encountered in the analysis of survey data. First one is raw weights, which is obtained by following the same procedure as discussed earlier, and some of the final raw weights is equal to the population size. The next one is the normalized weights, which is obtained by dividing the raw weight by the mean of all raw weights in the sample, and the sum of final normalized weights is equal to the sample size. So the significance of this study lies on the importance of incorporation of sampling weights and the sampling design. Sampling weights helps to produce design unbiased parameter estimates, while on the other hand, true variance of parameter estimates will be obtained only when the sampling design is considered. Thus, it is important to incorporate the sampling design and sampling weights in an analysis, as they usually improve the precision of the estimates. Although many of the researchers and scientists have discussed about the importance of the incorporation of the sampling design and the sampling weights, it is seen through the literature that many of the analysts still carry out their analysis without considering the sampling design and the sampling weights, even though the weight variable is available in their data sets. This might be due to the lack of awareness or for the simplicity. Thus, it is thought that it is important to study the impact of sampling design and sampling weights on the results of large survey data analysis. And we thought that this evidence-based study will immensely support you to promote the use of sampling weights and sampling design when analyzing complex survey data by the data analyst. Hence, the objectives of this study were to investigate the effect of sampling design and sampling weights in estimating population parameters of interest such as means, proportions, or totals. Then regression models are commonly used by many survey data analysts. Therefore, it is of interest to study the magnitude of not incorporating sampling design and sampling weight variable on the regression coefficients, as well as on simple tests such as t-test and chi-square test. Finally, to give some intuition to survey data analysts about the impact of incorporation of the sampling weights and the sampling design from the results that could be obtained in this study. To achieve the objective, two survey data sets from the Department of Census and Statistics were used. They are Sri Lanka Demographic and Health Survey and Labour Force Survey. DHS dataset contained normalized weights, while LFS dataset contained raw weights, and both of these surveys have used a two-stage stratified cluster sampling design to collect the relevant data. And here we analyze two datasets to confirm that we get similar results from the data collected through different sampling designs with different sample sizes and different variables. This diagram shows the detailed sampling design of the DHS. So here the first level of strata are district and the second level of strata are urban, rural, and estate sectors within each district. And then census blocks were selected using within each strata. Census blocks are selected within each strata using the proportional allocation. Here, census blocks serves as the primary sampling units and housing units serve as the secondary sampling units. LFS sampling design is also very similar to the DHS sampling design except for the sample size, and they have used name and allocation to select the census blocks instead of the proportional allocation. Moving on to the methodology, the first step of the methodology was to study the datasets thoroughly and select some variables for the study since there were many variables in the data sets. So for the DHS analysis, we focused on variables to determine the birth weight of a newborn. And for the 𝗟Hs analysis, we considered both mood-related risk factors. After some data pre-processing, analysis is carried out under 3 different situations. The first method here assumes a simple random sampling, and the second method incorporates only the weights but ignores the sampling design, and the third method provides an appropriate analysis for a given sampling design by incorporating both the sampling weights and the sampling design. Then means, totals, proportions, regression coefficients, and case statistics are calculated under each of these analysis methods, along with the design effects. Survey packaging is specially used for the calculations, and finally, results under each situation is compared. Now let's look at the results. I have included few of the results so that you can get a clear understanding. This table, the second column in this table presents the estimated proportions assuming a simple random sample, and the fourth column presents the estimated proportions after the incorporation of sampling weights. So from the numbers in the table, we can see how the estimates and their standard errors have changed after the incorporation of the sampling weights. It is important to know that the estimates obtained under the second analysis method, which incorporated only the sampling weights, and the third analysis method, which incorporated both the sampling weight and the sampling design, are the same. To illustrate the difference between the estimates in a more effective manner, relative percentage difference is calculated for each estimate, and this is calculated by taking the difference between unweighted and weighted estimate by dividing the difference between unweighted and weighted estimate by the unweighted estimate. So the last column in this table shows that magnitude of the relative percentage difference is more than 10% for most of the estimates. And through the analysis of the 2 data sets, we have found that this is true for most of the descriptive statistics, regression coefficient estimates, and test statistics computed. The second column in this table presents the estimated proportions after the incorporation of sampling weights under the sampling weights, and the fourth column presents the estimated proportions after the incorporation of both the sampling weights and the design. So, as I mentioned earlier, we can see how the estimates haven't changed under the second and the third analysis methods. However, the standard errors have changed under all the 3 analysis methods, and we were seeing that the standard errors are larger when both the sampling weight and the design are incorporated with the analysis. As the standard errors are increasing under this method, one might think that the precision of the estimates will decrease. To check this, relative standard errors are calculated, which is a precision of the which is a measure of the precision of the estimates. So from the values of the relative standard errors, we have found that there are only small differences in the precision of the estimates computed under the 3 analysis methods. And the last column shows how the design effects are greater than 1, and this was seen for all the selected variables in the 2 data sets, and this illustrated the complexity of the sampling designs used by the DHS and 𝗟Hs. And it is also observed that for variables with higher design effects, differences of the results with and without using sampling weights and sampling design are large. When it comes to t-test and chi-square test, it is observed that p-values differ under the 3 analysis methods, eliminating the potential for type 1 and type 2 errors. For example, this table here presents the results of a chi-square test that is conducted to check the independence between unemployed youth and their race and religion. So under the first analysis method, we will not reject H0 as the p-value is greater than 0.05. And under the second analysis method, we will reject H0, and again, after incorporating both the sampling design and the weight, we will not reject H0. This shows that if we incorporated under the sampling weights, the there is then the type 1 error, error will be occurred. So the change of the p-values also illustrated the possibility of reaching a different statistical decision regarding significant variables in the regression campaign. So from this study, we have seen that there are notable differences in the descriptive statistics, regression coefficient estimates, their standard errors, test statistics, and p-values computed after incorporating the sampling rates and the sampling design. Thus, this study clearly demonstrated the impact of not incorporating sampling rates and sampling design in complex survey data analysis. So conclusively, it is highly recommended to use the sampling rates and sampling design when analyzing data from the large survey. So this brings to the end of my presentation, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank my supervisors, Dr. 𝗦𝗱𝗚𝗵𝗗𝗄𝘁𝘂𝗺, Dr. 𝗦𝗲𝗱𝗺𝗵𝗗𝗁, my parents, my sister, and all the friends who have supported and guided me throughout this research. That's all, and thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Lankadini, for sharing your precious work with us. Now we've reached the end of our event. But before we conclude our proceedings, I would like to invite 𝗦𝗲𝗵𝗗𝗄𝘗, the Secretary of the Stats Circle, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, 𝗻𝗻𝗻𝗄. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have arrived at the conclusion of Stat Day 2021. On behalf of the Stats Circle, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to Professor Chandima Tilakaratne, Head of our department, Dr. 𝗦𝗲𝗵𝗗𝗄𝘗, Advisor of the Stats Circle, and Dr. Rasika Jayatilaka, Senior Treasurer of the Stats Circle, who have been the driving forces behind this whole process. We are very much thankful to all our lecturers and instructors of the Department of Statistics. Thank you very much for all your guidance and all the hard work you put into the Stats Circle endeavors. My special thanks goes to all the speakers and presenters for sharing your valuable knowledge and opinions on our team throughout all the sessions of Stat Day 2021. I also wish to thank the professionals and representatives from the industry for being a part of Stat Day. I would like to take some time to thank our sponsors, London Stock Exchange Group, our platinum partner, Equity Knowledge Partners, our gold partner, Potenza, our silver partner, Creative Hub and Slam Power Solutions, our mutual partners. Without your generous support, this event would not be of a success. So thank you very much. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the members of the Stats Circle who showed their passion for the work involved with the Stats Circle. I would also like to give my heartiest thanks to all the participants who joined us on all 3 days. Thank you all so much. Over to you now, Indu.
Thank you, Movini. We've reached the end of proceedings, but before that, I would like to kindly request all the participants to please switch on your cameras to take a photograph to mark the occasion. This is the final session of Stat Day 2021. We thank all of you for participation. Thank you everyone for your participation. Once again, thank you and good night.
you.